Hello, Target friends. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again, it is time for another Orc Mode workout. And today was Dynamic Effort Upper Day. But a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos every day, these vlogs, please click like down below. Help me keep those positive engagements up. A lot happened today. Still wasn't happy with the way my grip went. I realized what I've been doing wrong after the fact as far as my grip these days. And I know how to fix it. So it should be resolved. The speed work, it all looked really, really bad, especially that left hand. And again, it's me kind of incorrectly doing the bulldog grip there. I'm trying to go over to mess with the bulldog grip more, because what I realized was that when I use my buffalo bar and I'm so much stronger with it, it's basically putting me into a bulldog grip. And that's one reason I'm stronger on that bar in spite of the longer range of motion. But we'll deal with that for next week. So we went wide today for the first 3 sets. Instead of just doing all the closed grip, even though I'm faster and more powerful with closed grip, we need some practice on wide grip stuff, and I'm not going to do real wide grip benching unless I do it for real lightweight. And there's a method to doing illegal wide and stuff like that, ultra wide benching for weak points off the chest. But I don't have a weak point off the chest on closed grip. But I do want to work on that. So I went ahead and did the first 3 sets wide, then 3 medium, then 3 close. They were slow. They felt slow. They felt terrible, these first 3 did it. And when I see the footage after the fact, they actually look better than they felt. So, I mean, I'll watch this one here. This is the final set of the wider grip. And we'll see how it looks, but I mean, it actually probably looks better than it felt. Like, these felt slow. These felt like 3-second reps on the way up. Okay, that's how they felt. But for me, speed work is always like that. It's always like that, right? That feels like 3 seconds. But it's pretty slow. But after that, everything got a lot better. Everything got a lot better. Wasn't happy with one of my first accessories today because I saw how bad the grip was, and I tried to make a couple of adjustments of stuff with the grip. And again, I'll have it sorted the way I want for next week. I feel like, again, that's an area that I could stand to improve on my bench these days. Working on the way I grip the bar. Okay, testing different grips out a little bit in terms of how much of a fist versus a bulldog grip and everything. And, you know, realistically, yeah, I need to go with pretty much a bulldog grip. But when I pause these, they don't look as bad even when I pause it as it does there on camera. It just looks so far back on that left hand at this angle. And it is too far back. Like, that's not perfect. And yes, I'm going to beat myself up over stuff like that, because I can't afford mistakes like that. I can't afford mistakes like that. I can't afford energy bleeds. Not when I'm trying to get to the level that I'm at. And by the way, every time people bring up the competition history, I'm just going to ban you. People are like, oh, you don't compete anymore, or oh, the last time you competed was this. And then, because every time you guys do it, I know you're just troll accounts, because they get 27 upticks. So just give it up, guys. Give it up. I'm not going to give you a platform. Okay, I'm not going to give you a platform. Get over it. And people have to remember, eventually I will compete again. Right? That is the whole point of training this hard. And eventually, long term, I'll probably compete a lot. It'll probably become a regular thing again. Not just like once a year, but I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm waiting till I'm getting back to a certain level, waiting till I'm organizing certain things in my private life. And people would say, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, I don't discuss my private life. So you don't understand why, you won't get to know. Okay? We don't discuss that. The channel and everything I do is only about what's going on with my training, nothing more. You don't get to see me eat. You don't get to see me outside of my place. You don't get to know who I hang out with. Okay, just deal with it. This is about my training and teaching you guys how to train. There's going to be nothing else on this channel. That's the whole point of it. Now, it's been that way a very, very, very long time. So anyone who wants to bring up or discuss other things, you're living in the past. We don't discuss anything else here. That's it. This is training. Training, that's what we do. We discuss strength training. Okay. Now, that being said, in spite of me really disliking the way that left wrist looks, God, this angle looks so bad. in spite of that, the speed was really good on all the other sets. Right? Particularly if we start getting in closer. Now, that doesn't mean that we will always just do close grip. I mean, realistically, I'll do any real pressing I do, anything remotely heavy will be close grip in my training. And I'll mess with some of this other stuff in the wide grip and the things to build the wide grip. And then we'll assess it over time. And I feel like the speed work will help there too. Speed work will help there a lot. So if we do all the different grip angles, we learn to get tight, we learn to get explosive, everything else on all three. And I need the practice with the wider, but we still need a lot of it with the closer too, because there's a very, very good chance I'm going to end up just competing close grip. So with that in mind, we obviously need to focus on that too. But we'll build everything, we'll develop everything. But I am enjoying the fact that I'm getting tighter and a bigger arch, and that's one of the things, and this kind of highlights when you guys watch me doing a pretty pronounced arch. And when I say pretty pronounced, meaning my lower back is probably 6 to 8 inches off that bench. And again, people have to grasp the scale. Grasp the scale. Look at the size of the rack and me sitting in it. So you get a better scale of that, so put that in perspective. So it's pretty high up, but notice that I still have an extreme range of motion. Even with wide grip, when I go to a wide grip, look how long my range of motion is with a big old cheater arch. I've got long arms. One reason I'm better at deadlifts, and I think we're going to see some good deadlift numbers coming up, by the way. I got yesterday, my figure 8 straps came in for the snatch grip work. Okay. And I have a deadlift bar. You guys look in that corner back there, there's a Rogue deadlift bar back there. Now, I have another deadlift bar I'll have also coming in that I've already paid for. I actually have 2 more barbells I've bought that I won't have this month. I'm not going to have them this month that I've already bought. So, you know, it is what it is. But then we did close grip benching with chains. Now, I thought I was going to get like 9s and 10s. This ended up being 7s and 8s. Why? Because I put more chain on there than I realized. Like, I knew I had a good amount of chain, but I didn't realize when I factored in the lead chain and the collars, because I'm so used to bigger amounts that I thought, oh, I'll just throw one of the lightest chains on, right? And then I realized very quickly I'm dealing with rep work, higher rep work, and that's a lot of weight. That extra 10, 15 pounds adds up real fast. So I actually have a 36-pound chain set on there. And look how much is coiling up versus how much is staying on the bar. There's at least 10 pounds still on the bar. So I'm doing 235 off the bottom, and I'm locking 260. Well, we know that my best 10s earlier this week on close grip was only 245. Okay, right? So, again, a little bit much. So it ended up being 7s to 8s, and I ended up missing, I think I failed like rep 8. I think it's rep 8. I couldn't do it, and I got pinned. And I didn't have those slings set high enough, and it was not cool getting out from under it. I mean, I got out, but it was, I didn't film that. I cut it off, so you guys don't need to see all that. I obviously got out unhurt, but, you know, it was different. It was a lot harder than you would think, especially with that center knurling on that bar. Not cool on my stomach. So, you know, not too scraped up though. Yeah. So again, why close grip with chains? I need more tricep. Tricep, tricep, tricep. Triceps are a priority. Yes, I need delt. Yes, I need pec. Triceps, lats, all that stuff are a real high priority upper back for me right now. And I don't feel my triceps on any of this. And some people will say, well, why not? It's because I do so much band work that I do tons and tons of band press downs throughout the week for my triceps. And what I'm finding is that I don't feel my triceps on anything else that I do. And I'm talking even tricep extensions. It's like I don't get the same pump because my triceps are so used to that really high rep, high speed band press downs. I don't feel my triceps really on other stuff right now. So the same thing, I did those with chains today. I thought I would do the JM press of the chains today, and I just barely calculated. right about what felt right based upon estimating how much chain I can have and dropping just enough off so that I was able to get 10s. But these were challenging 10 rep sets. They were challenging sets. And also I think something to keep in mind there with that wrist angle, my knuckles are pointed up on the JM press. They're pointed up at the bottom, and notice the wrist still looks cocked back at this angle. So that makes me feel better because I've even zoomed in to double check. And I know that when I go down, I cock my wrist forward, so my knuckles are staying pointed up, yet we still have that cock back. And again, we need to eliminate it to some extent, but some of it's this weird camera angle. Because there, it might look like from here that my wrist is bent back, but at the bottom, it's actually pointed up. My knuckles are, so it's kind of bizarre. I don't know. So, but these were challenging, and I felt a little bit of tricep, but not as much as I normally feel on JM presses, even using this technique and even with the chains. So it's again, one of the things I'm noticing is that the band work itself is so intense that I just don't feel the other stuff anymore. So close grip with chains, not really. JM presses with chains, a little bit, right? A little bit. I guess it's just my work capacity's going up on the triceps, right? They're just so used to being worked that they don't care enough to feel anymore. And it's not that they aren't getting work; it's just I don't feel like any sort of pump or anything, like I used to on these movements. But we're getting stronger at them. They're tricep movements, right? I don't think anyone's going to deny close grip press with chains, JM press with chains don't work the triceps very, very hard, but just don't feel them. But they're a high priority. Very high priority. And then I decided to do some wide grip standing press. It's like I decided to cut out the snatch grip high pulls. I did notice, even though they've worked phenomenally well, I did feel a little crackling in my shoulder after doing them this last time. It's like, okay, great lift, but I might want to rotate them out for just a bit and go back and focus on these real wide grip presses, because I felt these a lot in my shoulders. These were actually kind of helpful leading into that big bench PR before that pull-up injury. So I'm going to work with these a bit. I was going to actually do the Z press, but I started to get under it and I just couldn't get comfortable even with the empty bar. I was so beat up from doing the JM presses and stuff. And so people say, well, Jason, why fatigue your triceps so much and then do these? Well, they have to fit somewhere, and I need my triceps to be stronger than my delts. I do not want my delts to overpower my triceps. So I don't mind fatiguing triceps first to make sure that this is a tricep exercise too. You know, again, triceps are a higher priority than delts. So I'll do JM presses first. And we didn't go super heavy on these. I mean, I did one set with just 95, then I did 3 sets with 115, and we'll get these up. I mean, what's a good benchmark? Get back to 10s on these with 135, and then we'll go from there. But they worked. I felt my whole shoulder girdle. Okay, I felt at least a side and front delt. I felt my upper chest. I felt my traps. And yes, we're doing a lot of trap and upper back work, but this counts as upper back work, right? You know, that's kind of the funny thing. We can talk about pushing to pulling ratios all that we want, but where does a lift like this fit in? Since it works the upper back just like a lot of the pulling movements do, it's a mix. I think you can count towards both. But we're doing a ton of pulling. We're doing all the rowing. We're doing the snatch grip, deadlifts. Okay. So we're going to keep doing lots of upper back, and then I do some band pull aparts and other stuff. Do shrugs. So I'm going to keep hammering that upper back. The whole thing needs to come up. My back in general. And it's not just for benching. I need it for deadlifting, for squatting, everything. It doesn't matter that I have a big back now. It's like, guys, I want a 700 deadlift. Okay. And I think the lower body is getting caught up pretty quick towards that goal. Upper body and grip and all that are going to be limits. And so I'm working those things really, really hard. And like even my loaded carries help, all my farmer's walks help, because that's grip training, it's trap training. Right? But again, this will help with the entire shoulder girdle, upper back. And make sure that my delts don't become a weak link for me, because if I'm going to do a lot of close grip pressing, yes, we need tricep. Okay? But we need to make sure delts get trained too. And again, we could make the argument that, well, do we need the overhead pressing? I guess it's a point of contention, isn't it? But I could use the extra upper back, so I'll use it in the same slot I have the snatch grip high pulls in. Yes, the ratios are shifted a little bit, but a lot of the same muscles get worked. Then we did Skullcrushers. I was going to do these with chains, but I couldn't make them feel right today. So I went ahead and just went back to this, and I upped it 5 more pounds. So we made a little 5-pound weight bump over what we did last time, and they were a lot harder. And yes, I used wrist wraps this time. I want to make sure I can just grip that bar super tight, make sure there's no energy leaks anywhere else, and just get in and hit those triceps. Now, I felt these a little bit in my triceps, and that's kind of the funny thing. Like, you look at that, and it's very clear that this is tricep. Okay, I'm using very, very, very little shoulder extension. It's all elbow bend. We're working the elbow through pretty much the full range of motion, other than I'm not hitting my face. I'm stopping the bar short of my face. Pull, lock out. And yeah, I felt some medial tricep, but not like I used to be able to feel on movements like this. So it kind of comes back to that interesting point with the band press downs. It's creating a situation to where that's the only thing I feel in my triceps. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It just means that, again, it's such a different stimulus that anything that's not that extreme in terms of the pump and stuff that it gives just doesn't seem to, I don't feel it. But triceps are going to be, again, high priority. This is a lot of tricep work, and it needs to be. All right, closed grip with chains, JM has us a chain, Skullcrushers, and then we'll do band press downs later also. Tricep, tricep, tricep. I get my triceps bigger, that closed grip press will go up. Okay. Closed grip press goes up, my competition benching goes up. Whether I choose to stick with closed grip or wide grip, it helps all of it. Right, because I tend to be weak on the lockout on the wide grip too, don't I? Yep. But these 5 sets of 10, and they were challenging. I'm not going to lie, these were hard with the weight bump. They were hard. And I think looking at that, I think we can say my triceps do seem to be growing. They have a long way to go. Really, I need to add another inch or two to them. I mean, if I really want to have the sort of bench that I need, I probably need to add a couple inches of meat to those triceps. And that's harder than it sounds. It should be easy. If you're a novice, that's not that big of a deal. Where I'm at, that's going to be a lot of work. But, how do we do it? We get in and we train it. And we've got to be efficient with it. We've got to be looking at tendon health. We have to be looking at, overuse. Okay? We have to be paying attention to those things. I mean, in theory, we could just do nothing but Skullcrushers. If we did enough of them, we'd get there, but our tendons would be so beat up. So, again, we do other lifts first. We come into it with fatigued triceps. JM presses with chains and stuff like that are fatiguing those triceps. And then we come into a smaller movement like this so that I don't have to go as heavy on these to get pretty much failure on rep 10 or 11. To be out of steam, I don't need as much weight if I fatigued them first. Okay. And we still try to progress on it. And then the same thing, volume, volume, volume with those band press downs. So my triceps are getting a ton of work every week. And I'm going to keep it that way, building their work capacity up, building up the tendons, building the recovery. It's one of those muscles that I know I need it, so I spend a lot of time on restoration and prehab work so that I know that it recovers. I dig my massager in. I need to review it. I got sent a free massager by a company, a pretty high-end massager actually. It's like a $400 one. I got sent it for free to review, and it's like there's no strings attached. They just straight up sent it to me. And it's actually pretty good. I've even been using it on my triceps. I need to review it here soon. I want to get some more wear and tear on it. But I'm big on recovery stuff. And even my diet is going to be more and more and more geared towards recovery. Once I go through a bunch of the foods that I have stockpiled, I'm adjusting my diet next month. Right? Probably about a month from now. And I'll talk with you guys about what I'm going to do with that and why a little bit. But I don't talk about nutrition a lot here. Right? And I think it's because it's be boring. Like, people need to understand, I don't eat an extravagant diet. Yes, I like good steak and stuff. And about to be eating, lean cuts of steak every single day. And I don't mind dishing out for that. I don't mind dishing out for a little bit of grass-fed bison and stuff in there, uh, because I have the budget for it these days. But my diet's pretty boring. Like, people would get bored if I talk about nutrition. Like, oh man, what have you been eating during this fat loss and the recomp? You know, because it's like you are getting leaner. It's like the most boring thing you can imagine. Chicken, brown rice, broccoli, Greek yogurt, all unseasoned. I've been drinking a lot of Coke Zero though, and I'm about to cut that out too, because I feel like a lot of that stuff is making me more bloated than I need to be. Like, it makes me look fatter than I probably am. And I know some people say, well, you look leaner. Yeah, but I'm pretty bloated. So I'm going to be adjusting my diet to bring some of that down a little bit over time. And then that'll give me a better assessment of what I really weigh, what my body fat's really at, as we start getting ready later to, you know, practice making weight and stuff later on again, which, I mean, I've got quite a bit of experience with. But back over to the training. I was just trying to figure out how many sets of Pendlay rows I'm going to do, because I'm only doing them now on the upper body days. But I realized with the bands, these are so hard when we run heavy band tension. And for those curious, I'm running like 75 pounds of band. 75 to 80 pounds of band tension. That's a lot of band to pull against. And it hammers those traps. You know, I mean, what I find is that the band sets of these hit the whole middle of the back, right by the spine, super hard. Traps get lit. In addition to even the grip, the forearms too. I mean, obviously I feel lats. I don't want me to think that I'm not getting a lat work with this, because there is. It's obviously a lat exercise. Very good lat exercise. But when I use the bands, I just get a different pump in that whole mid-trap area, which we know I need for my squatting. Okay. So again, these lifts like this carry over to multiple things. Forearms get a tremendous pump off the bands. So there's a good, nice little grip component. Again, we'll carry over to my deadlifting. Like, grip is going to be the biggest deal, I think, in my deadlift moving forward. Because all the other stuff's coming along. I'm getting stronger at the supplemental work. Okay. So we know my glutes and erectors and hamstrings and everything, they're coming along. That grip. So all this stuff helps the grip. But I ended up doing just 5 by 10. I'm like, you know what? 5 sets twice a week is 10 full sets of quality rows. I'm doing other back work. We're doing the standing press. We're doing shrugs. Right? We're doing all that stuff. And then those snatch grip deadlifts, I want to make those a bigger part of my routine, because my God, do they hit my upper back. And I feel them in my lats and in my traps and in my rear delts. I would say that after doing a snatch grip deadlift, I get the same feeling in my lats and my rear delts that I get from rowing. So they definitely are going to contribute. And I'm going to get better and better at those. So I think that's going to handle the rest of my back development. Right? I think the rowing, using the different variations of the Pendlay straight weight, bands, chains, rotating through it the way I'm doing, 10 sets of that a week. It's a lot. And I think the snatch grip stuff, the snatch grip deadlifts, the shrugs, right, all that stuff will handle the rest of my back, in addition to pushing that wide grip press more and more. Then we finished off with curls, straight bar curls. And I'll probably work in some easy bar curls again too, and maybe even ones where I go against the upright and do it like the strict curl competition. But I feel like right now these straight bar ones, they're giving me a great pump in my biceps. They're easy on my forearms at the moment because of the way I'm doing them, because I'm keeping the weight light and controlling it. They're relatively easy on the low back. As long as I belt up, I don't feel anything. And there's been EMG data showing a tremendous amount of low back activity on a standing barbell curl. Okay, so it hits at the low back. And so by me putting that belt on, I can contract my abs against it. You guys have seen me do it without it. So if people try to say, oh my gosh, you're doing it too high. Well, no, you guys have watched me do them without the belt. Okay, I've done it numerous times on camera in the last couple months. There's a reason for it. There's a benefit to me using it. And it's because on a lift like this, especially as I'm getting down towards 10s and the weight may go up a little bit, I don't want to fatigue my low back and then have deadlifts and stuff the next day. I'm trying to minimize that fatigue, and by using my abs, we get a larger irradiation effect. Okay? The belt makes us stronger. It helps us recruit more muscle fibers. And it can be easier for low back recovery because we can brace our core. raises that intra-abdominal pressure, gives us more support, which helps actually build that area. So I wear a belt on anything that I can. And occasionally you guys will see me do beltless lifts, and I do beltless lifts. But the majority of my training is going to have a belt. And anything like this, it's standing. Right, anything like this, it's standing that tends to use the abs and the low back. Of course, we're going to use a belt. But let's come back over to this. I'm trying to get a good range of motion. Try to get that full stretch at the bottom. Try to bring it high enough up that we get a little bit of extension of the shoulder. Keeping it fairly controlled. You know, for me, this is pretty slow reps because I do a lot of explosive stuff. But trying to control the eccentrics, you know. And sometimes on the very last rep of the day, for example, I do a real slow eccentric. Okay. So we're trying to get a good amount of training volume just to build the biceps up. But we want to do so in a way that's not going to beat our low back up. Not going to beat our tendons up. We're trying to build tendons and connective tissue because I want to reduce the chances of a bicep tear, right? And I want my biceps to be bigger to help with my bench pressing. And I want to make sure that I get stronger at rows because a lot of times biceps feel like a weak link sometimes on rowing. Well, if they get bigger and stronger, that'll go away. But the other big deal is that they help with the bench press. They're an important stabilizer. And I don't know, I feel like the straight bar just kind of hits them for me in a way that I don't always feel with other movements. You know, we've got to be careful with the straight bar because if you're not careful, you'll get some tendonitis. But it's really, really effective. And I feel when I keep the reps fairly high on this thing, 10 plus, I get a very, very deep burn in the bicep. So it definitely feels like it's working. And I understand that feeling isn't everything, but it does matter. And it can be indicative of stuff. So I'm trying to do a lot more straight bar work. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.